Because I'm interested in your whole experience, like you
Yeah.
know how you went and whatever, all that kind of thing. But I want to force you first to introduce yourself because I don't want to summarize your
Yes.
presentation.
Great. I'm Jason Zymet. I own a company called Unoriginal Vinyl, and
Mhm.
we make vinyl records, oftentimes reissues of albums that are classics that have never been put out on vinyl before. Sometimes we do original releases for bands that have never had vinyl, period, best of compilations, things like that. But I've been doing it since about 2017 as a proper entity.
And done a ton of stuff for Tooth and Nail. And the big thing, the big story for me that it intersects with is you were doing these vinyl sales, the special vinyl sales at Furnace Fest that were exclusive, where you did He Is Legend, Norma Jean, and what was the third one?
The Chariot
And the Chariot,
Wars.
yes, that's right. It had three exclusive vinyls that were announceable and only buyable there. And you did it in a really crazy way that I want to talk about that used
Yeah.
augmented reality, mixed reality, not a physical vendor. It was a very innovative thing to do these tooth and nail releases. And then also, I just want to say, by overwhelmingly, when I was recognized, it was as the labeled guy, not the guitarist from Emery. So I thought that was like pretty cool.
Yeah.
So the stuff that you and I do around the tooth and nail, and that it's just new ideas, and Furnace Fest was such a fertile ground where you felt like, oh, there is new energy and new things happening. It's not just old stuff. There's new stuff here too. So I thought that'd be good to connect on just that horizon. But you and I are doing things where we're interested in this scene, coming out tooth and nail, and have good relationships, and that Tooth and Nail keeps innovating in new ways and empowering and working with people like me and you, and it's fun times. That's all.
Yeah. They're still in a position to bring creative ideas to the forefront and let
Mm-hmm.
us run with them without inhibiting. They might have a few common sense limiters on our wild behavior and reckless creativity, but mostly they've been extremely encouraging of both of our desires to tell a story a slightly different way, to market slightly differently. And this Furnace Fest was a great opportunity for me to experiment with the traditional models that I've grown accustomed to and turned them upside down. That's
And
really what I wanted to do.
I've got Ebel coming over in a few minutes. I'm going to get his reflections and do
Yeah,
something with that. Probably release it. I'll
he
probably
and I hung out quite a bit at Furnace Fest together because he was very curious about what I was doing for
yeah.
his. I mean, I'm repping his brand.
Yeah, that's what
I
I
am
want to talk
his.
about. Is
I'm his
what did
brand.
it, tell me about what you did. Explain to me, or explain to everybody else. I know roughly what you did, but I wanted to hear about the what your summary of the campaign that you did, or however you think about it is.
I took two cues in the middle of the pandemic for how these vinyl releases that I was putting out are going. Like they sell out instantly, and there's a bunch of people complaining about it. But there's almost a notoriety that you gain. Almost the algorithm boosts your visibility when these things sell out, and you get a lot of comments and things like that on social media about, "I'm so mad. Why didn't they make more?" All that stuff. The curiosity for me became how there's so much interactivity in the vinyl community and how people spread this word about vinyl releases sort of organically in their own sub groups, Reddit or Facebook groups or whatever. They have their own community, and so they spread the word. And I saw two things maybe in April that I was really curious about. Number one was this. This
Where's
is the
Waldo?
Martin Hanford, Where's Waldo? Fantastic Journey. On the last page, it says, Return to the Land of Waldos. It's just a bunch of Waldos, and Waldo is hiding in and amongst Waldo. So I like the idea of hiding in plain sight. I'm a very boring looking person. Most people would never recognize me in a crowd. And I know that, and I use that to my advantage in my career usually. But I thought about the idea of creating some chaos and pandemonium, all of the wild spreading of sort of viral ideas or a cool vinyl release that I see happening in the social media community. I wanted to see if that would play out in person. I wanted to try and experiment out for releasing a record and doing a drop that was so unpredictable and so baffling to the online community, but the people that it forced the hand of the vinyl fans at Furnace Fest to go searching for me, essentially. So I linked up with this company called Pictar out of Canada, and the singer of Boys Night Out started this company. And the idea of AR, augmented reality, sort of excited me. So you have virtual reality, which is put on goggles or an Oculus, and suddenly you're flying over a volcano in another place in another time. But I see people using Facebook live streams or Instagram live streams to go shopping at Target. I don't know who their audience is for these things, but younger generations, instead of judging them for live streaming a shopping trip to Target, I start to go, there's something about them being in two places at once that's really, really sexy to them and appealing. And I want to leverage that. I want to see if I can teach an older culture who doesn't know what AR is to use that technology very fast in like 1 day's time. So we set up stickers all over the place that set up a video. You had to watch the video to find out which sets that I was going to be at. I highlighted different sets that I'd be parked out at, hanging out at. And that's the only place you could buy the records from me on an iPad. And then it would mail back to your house. I also like the idea of not having physical goods brought to a festival because they're inconvenient, especially vinyl records. They're not convenient to carry around into the pit. If you leave them in your car, they would overheat and warp. I just wanted the idea of like, let's try it out where I don't bring any physical goods with me besides some like paper OB strips, which wrap around the side of the record. That'll be your proof of purchase.
So they got in line and bought on iPad, and then they got a proof of purchase, which is that I don't know what it's called.
It's called an OB strip. It used to be very popular in the 70s and 80s for Japanese import records. And it's a piece of paper that just offers some sort of unique text. In this case, it says Furnace Fest Day 3, Day 1. They're all hand numbered. So it's all in the order.
And that always is a part of your vinyl that also identifies it, frames it as where you bought it, like
where you got it, that it was this limited.
Yeah, that's
everything's in sort of order, and we screen printed every cover so that these are all literally going to be handmade.
It was a single location sellout in person with no physicality. It mixed with digital. That's too many. That's too, you're approaching the singularity there.
It's a lot, and there's a Bill Hader sketch on Saturday Night Live where he and John Mulaney are in a game show together. And at the end of the game show, John Mulaney says to Bill Hader, "What do you do this for? What's it all for? What do you want?" And Bill Hader just gets really menacing and he goes, "In a word, chaos." Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what I wanted to see happen. I wanted to see organized chaos, and I wanted to see it wasn't one location. It was a lot of locations. Me moving all over the festival, which proved to be very difficult. When you have a line 200 deep, you're not expecting to have that kind of hype. And then you find yourself in this extraordinary circumstance and you're like, but I got to move over to the He Is Legend set. I got to go find my way over to watch the band of the record I'm selling.
That's like when I go out during a Seahawks football game because, traffic's not bad. Nobody's at Costco. And you see people in there wearing Seahawks jerseys. I think that's weird. You're not watching the game. So you can't not watch He Is Legend to get a He Is Legend vinyl.
Right. So I moved all over the festival. I parked on the back of a Buick to sell records. I parked in an alley to sell records. If I was in the middle of the pit, I had the private link. I was the only person who had the link. And then I realized very quickly I was overwhelmed with the amount of time that it would take people to type in their information to my iPad. So thinking in my mind ahead of time, I'm thinking 2 minutes per transaction. It takes 2 people 2 minutes to fill that out. No, it takes 10 minutes. It's a new technology adoption that they are responsible for. And most people don't know how to type their information into an iPad. They're confused by that. So take 2 minutes and bump it up to 10 minutes. All of a sudden, I started calling all my friends over to help me. Guys, I need your help. Get out your phones. We're going to start taking as many orders as we possibly can. And the entire community, the vinyl community that I sort of am a part of, and the Tooth and Nail fan community all came in to help. They saw me overwhelmed with the chaos that I personally created. And they said, "We're here for it, man. We got your back. Let's all start taking orders."
I like that.
And doing 5, 6 at a time, parked all over the festival, including in the center of the mosh pit. Some guy comes up to me during the Beloved set, even though I'm in my Tebow jersey. He goes, "You're the Unoriginal Vinyl guy." "Yeah." Before they start, can I order the record?" "Absolutely. Let's do it right now."
That's
like
cool.
Those are memories that you could not replicate by having a traditional merch table with physical goods on site.
That's right.
Shipping down 1,500 records it's an enormous amount of product to risk not selling out, and we're in the future now, folks. So we can think about things as being immaterial goods that are of high value, highly collectible. These things are $35 a record and they're handmade. If we showed them the handmade goods, but they were empty jackets, like these things, we said, "Hey, you can get a gold record. That'll be out of 400. It's got gold glitter screen printed on it." Or the blue one, that's out of 100. And just having the ability to show them that thing, for them to hold it in their hands and go, okay, tactily it's real, I get it, but now I have to go into the realm of imagination with this guy, and I have to
So
trust that
good.
when I fill out this iPad
Yeah,
order,
yeah.
eventually it's going to show up to me. God knows when it could show up, January, February, after the festival. But
Both of
that's,
those values are high to me, is to create chaos, because it gives other, I mean, it gives people this sense of to pay attention to something and look at it and
yeah,
be present with what is this and how am I going to engage it, so whenever there's chaos, that's what everybody can look at it and analyze it and put themselves
yeah.
in relation to it. It's something neat about causing a spectacle. I mean, depending on how deeply you mean chaos, but there's a certain amount of it that's just wonderful. And
Yeah, that
then
was and I anticipated all the reactions. I anticipated all the shit talk that was going to come my way. I said, that's fine. I am happy to do it for the sake of the people who are here, who will have meaning created
correct, because the skin
organically.
in the game for waiting in the line or helping figure out the problem or whatever it is. Like when you do a living room show, you don't have to have security, because nobody would ever act bad, because everybody's actively doing this and pitching in
Yeah,
or helping. They're more likely to help clean up than they are leave a mess at that point. Once
right.
you get the environment right, people So it's that's a cool combination. I'm
But
glad it went well, and you sold them all. Of course, there was no problem with selling them all.
I mean, it was probably 200 the first day left over of Norma Jean into the next day, but then people would double up. They'd order
Mm-hmm.
He Is Legend and Norma Jean, and then the next day it got better, and He Is Legend was almost gone on day 3, and then you move through all the rest of that. And I think that the experiment was also to see the first day. I think I have a social media manager who does all the accounts, and he just said we lost about 300 followers today, and I said that's great. That's good results. That means people are actively taking a role in this. They're angry about it, and that's good. And then come back the next day and you gain
What were they
700.
angry about? That
There's
they just can't get
the
it because they
FOMO.
weren't there. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the fear of missing out. This is so wrong. And these were all titles that had never been pressed on vinyl. Norma Jean was the rare exception. It was in a box set only. But all these other ones that we were launching were first time on vinyl. Everybody's talking and wanted these records forever. So they're freaking out. Like, how dare you
Yeah.
release these albums? In their mind, those are their titles that they have the right to own. And in my mind, I'm only interested in the organic face-to-face meetup with all these people who figured it out. They solved the equation. They looked at a line that was popped up near a hot dog stand and said, something's going on. I got to find out what it is. And they walked to the front of the line and said, what are you doing? And they see these records sitting on the back of a Buick. And they go, oh, well, that's cool. I'm going to wait in line for this. And
That's
there's
so
people that
cool.
had to wait in line for a long time because I was running the show myself the first couple hours. And then more people started pitching in, 5 devices, 6 devices with that private link running at the same time. And it starts to move faster and faster, but you have to adapt in real time to the changing circumstances. And I had no idea. I didn't anticipate a lot of the circumstances that came my way.
Awesome.
Technologically speaking, the cell phone towers on day 3 were overloaded. There's
Mm-hmm.
maybe 1 or 2 cell phone towers in Birmingham. Nobody's live streaming. Nobody can hardly get a call out of Furnace Fest on day 3. The server is overwhelmed. So the AR stops working. Now people have to find me organically. Where's the longest line that doesn't belong?
To a tent, yeah.
You know?
That's cool. That's
I
cool.
don't know, man.
Congratulations on doing it. I was looking forward to seeing it and glad I got to see it all in person. And it's been good. Just on a quick catch up here, but did you have anything else that you wanted to say or reflections from it that belong here?
I don't think so. I just think that the idea of the spirit of what we were trying to accomplish there was feeling a part of something, and not in a digital way, not in there's a community, there's creating community organically with people around you.
With a
That
digital layer.
it had to be refreshed. People had to reset their clocks because they've relied so heavily for so long on an online community as their
Mm-hmm.
sole
Mm-hmm.
source of
Mm-hmm.
comfort and support
Yes.
over the pandemic. And
And
now to
that's huge.
reiterate this idea of
Huge.
there being community face to face, that's a
Yep.
real person.
Absolutely.
That's not the robot guy that I'm familiar with only because of some of the work he's done, but he's a real physical person standing in front of me. And he bothered to show up with this crazy thing I've kind of always wanted. That's pretty neat. And I
Very,
wanted
very
everybody
neat.
to feel that.
That's actually probably a good theme to record or write down, but this was a reset. All the communities have existed in the last decade as echo chambers. So there's a Norma Jean group, an Emory group, and a Bad. I mean, there's the label group is my one of the concepts for the label group to me is you get all those, at least you get those echo chambers back to overlapping. So you have KJ52 fans in labeled and you have Norma Jean fans or whatever. That makes more sense because you start to share stuff. And then to then remember that, oh, wait, this is physical and digital as layers, or you can have physicality. I mean, you can have a whole digital thing that's only ever been digital, like labeled, and then it can have a labeled fest and become physical that way. That's really a disruptive idea to have a digital community become a physical community versus the other way around. And
I can't
now
tell
more
you
possible than ever. So.
from interacting with 500 people a day about face to face, having as many people come up to me and say, the vinyl world's not my world, but I couldn't help people pinging me and DMing me and text messaging me, asking me to go buy this record for them. And now I'm exposed to something new that I didn't know about. I wasn't into vinyl, but I like what you're doing here. I like this idea. I like that you feel like a real person to me and you're handing me this, tooth and nail enamel pin. And I don't know what that is. So I'm going to go explore that.
Yeah. Awesome.
Preaching the word organically for Brandon, as he will tell you, like bringing a line to Silent Planet for people who are largely there to see legacy tooth and nail artists, but saying, no, you're going to stay here and you're going to watch this show right now. You were there in the sound booth watching that happen. It was bizarre. Sure. People loved the band. They'd never heard of them before. So you can also sort of influence the people's where they might have gone or might not have gone that way. When you move the traditional merch table line elsewhere, you move it around, you keep it a little chaotic, a little confusing, but ultimately rewarding for people in the end. It was just worth it for me to try it out. Chad said to me about 3 days before the festival, hey, Jason, how committed are you to launching the records this way? And I think what he was meaning by that was, if you launched it the traditional way and we announced it, we dropped the pictures of the records today, it would mean great things for everybody. And your burden would be lifted because people would just be stoked. They'd be freaking out. And he said, how committed are you? I like the way you phrased that to me. How committed are you to your idea of launching this AR project? And I said 100%. And he said, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Awesome.
I'm glad you answered that way because that's what makes you you.
That's great. It was a great rollout, great stuff. I enjoyed it all the way around.
Thanks, man.